Our second scripture lesson today is a continuation of what we were just listening to, and we are talking about King Solomon. And this is the continuation of what just happened there. God said to Solomon, "Because you have asked this and have not asked for yourself long life or riches or for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right, I now do according to your word. Indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor all your life. No other king shall compare with you. If you will walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your life." Then Solomon awoke. It had been a dream. He came to Jerusalem, where he stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. He offered burnt offerings and offerings of well-being, and provided a feast for all of his servants. This is the word of the Lord. So, you're probably wondering, what's this doing up here? Guess what? It's cleaning day today, and you get a broom, and you get a broom, and we're all going to clean this place up. Now, this has a particular meaning for our sermon today, and I'm hoping that it doesn't fall over like it did in the first service. So, I want to start this morning by telling you a modern parable that was written by a man named Matthew Kelly. In this parable, it revolves around a cleaning company known as Admiral Janitorial Services. Admiral Janitorial Services. Now, Admiral was the type of cleaning company that cleaned very large spaces. So it was business buildings, schools, sporting arenas, movie theaters, any place that required a team of people, Admiral would do that. Now, Admiral had a very high turnover rate also. Do you know what I mean when I say turnover rate? That means people would quit rather frequently. Their turnover rate was about 400%. That's the industry average for them. 400% means that you're hiring somebody and they are quitting about 3 months later. So this high turnover rate, it was really affecting their bottom line, because when you bring somebody in, you train them, and then they leave 3 months later, that doesn't make for a very good workforce. And so these large buildings they were cleaning, they weren't getting cleaned very well, and many of the contracts that they had, they were threatened to being revoked. So this general manager at Admiral, his name was Simon Roberts, he started examining this issue. And he felt that perhaps there was a way to correct it. Now, many of the executives at Admiral, they believed that the reason why the turnover rate was so high was due to a very simple equation, which is hard work and low pay. Not many people want a job like that. Can we understand that? Yeah? Nobody really wants to work hard for not a lot of money. But Simon thought, you know what, that basic assumption of the executives might not be right. So he asked the president of the company if he could conduct a survey of the 400 workers who were there. So the president said, "Sure, conduct all the surveys you want. Go ahead." So he goes out, he conducts a survey, and of course you can imagine that the people at Admiral, they were a little suspicious of this survey, because Admiral had never taken any interest in its employees before. Why all of a sudden did they have this newfound desire to understand how they were doing? But 187 people, they filled out this survey, and when it came back, Simon was proved correct, that many of the assumptions of the executives were off. That was not what was at the root of the problem. What he realized was that reading through these surveys, many of these people, they made so little money that they couldn't afford transportation that was easy and accessible. How many people in here own cars? All right, nobody at this company had a car. So it was very hard for them to get to and from work. So therefore, most of these people, they utilized public transportation. Public transportation in this particular city, it only ran at certain hours. So once it got to a certain time in the morning, it shut down for a period of time before it started up again. And so this was creating a problem, because many of the people at Admiral, they began their shift in the evening, and then it would end sometime in the morning when the public transportation wasn't working. Furthermore, the places where they were working, at night, they were quite dangerous. So it wasn't the fact that these people didn't want to work hard or the work was beneath them. It was the fact that they had to choose between their job and their safety. And most of them chose what? Safety. You would too. So Simon, he goes back to the president. He says, here's what I think we should do. We need to implement a van pickup program that will drive to people's homes, pick them up, take them to their job, and then return them home afterwards. Now you can imagine the president of the company did not like this idea too much because it was going to cost money. And money was the one thing that they didn't have. But he agreed to it because things were getting really bad. Within a year of instituting this van pickup program, their turnover rate dropped from 400% to 224%, almost cut it directly in half. But Simon wasn't satisfied. He wanted to get it lower. So he went back and he conducted another survey. But this time he asked a very different kind of question. He asked, what are your dreams? Now, because the executives have responded so well to the first survey, and they had actually given something tangible with that transportation program, they actually took this survey very seriously, and they filled it out. And what Simon received back, it really struck him to read these things. Many of them said they wanted to own their own car. You could imagine how that would make life a lot easier. Some said they wanted to take a vacation. Many of them had never taken a vacation in their entire lives. One person wrote, a proper Christmas. Another person wrote, a better life for my child. Many of them said they wanted to own their own business or send their children to college. 60% said they wanted to own their own home. What Simon realized was that reading through these answers, many of these things that they wanted, they were very simple things. And that the executives at Admiral, these are things that they took for granted in their day-to-day lives. He realized that these people in the upper management, they were very disconnected from the day-to-day struggles of their Admiral employees. And so what happened was, he thought about, you know what, could we, as a company, actually help these people's dreams come true? Could we be that kind of company? So he approached the board of Admiral, and he said, I would like to create another kind of position. It's a little different from what we've had before, but I think it would work. He called this position a dream manager. A dream manager was kind of a combination of a financial planner and a life coach. And the goal was to have every single member of the Admiral team meet with this dream manager, and that dream manager would map out a way for them to achieve their dreams. Now you can imagine that the board at Admiral, they didn't particularly like this idea. In fact, they thought it was crazy. Because the idea that Admiral, a janitorial company, could help people's dreams come true, it didn't make sense. They were like, we're a cleaning company, not a financial firm. But in the end, because they had had so much success from the van pickup program, the president said, sure, go for it. Let's see what happens. Now, within a year of hiring that first dream manager, Admiral is undergoing a total transformation. One of the first people who that dream manager met with was this woman named Rita. She was a 54-year-old employee, been working at Admiral for a long time. And he sat down with her, and on her form, she had written that she wanted to own her own home. And so he was able to figure out a way to make this happen for her. She bought a home. It wasn't this big, massive thing, but it was hers. She actually was able to afford it. And every Wednesday night, she would invite people from Admiral over to her house to have dinner because she was so proud that she was the first person in her family to own a home. Well, doing this week after week after week, the idea that the dream manager could actually change your life for the better, it really caught on. I mean, it caught on like wildfire. Eventually, Admiral hired 2 more dream managers. And as a result, their turnover rate went from 400%. Within 5 years, it was down to 12%. Now, you have to realize that because of the Dream Manager program, people were literally knocking down their door, begging for these positions at Admiral. And there was so much money coming in because they were getting contracts left and right because these people, they had such loyalty to the company. They wanted to do a great job. They were cleaning at a much higher rate, really well. They were using less resources. and there was so much money coming in that the president upped everybody's hourly wages, and he gave incentive bonuses to people who really did well. They even helped their top employees move on to other companies so that they could get a better wage and a better life for their family. Who would have thought that a janitorial company could do so much to help so many people? Now, why am I telling you this? What's the purpose of telling you this story? That's a cool story, right? But what does it do for us? Well, I think it comes down to this. If a janitorial company can make a significant contribution to helping improve people's lives, then a church, which exists for the sole purpose of helping God's people, should be able to make a significant contribution as well. Am I right about that? Okay. So, you all are all dream managers. You have been managing your own dreams for most of your life, trying to make those come true. It is now time for us to start working together to help make those dreams for other people a reality. And the way that we're going to do this is through the vision for our church. Now, a lot of you have been hearing me talk about this vision for the last 2 months, and I'm sure some of you are sick of hearing me talk about the vision over and over and over again. But I need to talk about it again today. It's important. So in September, we held visioning sessions where we talked about the new vision for the church. The last 3 weeks, you've heard all the pastors talk about their pillar of the vision and how we expect you to get involved. What you should have come away with after all these weeks of hearing about it, if you have absorbed nothing else, is that this vision impacts you. That every single person in here is expected to get involved in some way or another. In other words, if you have been a casual observer, sitting on the sidelines of this congregation, coming to Sunday service, listening to the music, hearing the messages, perhaps sending your kid to Sunday school, we need you to do more than sit in a pew. I like having an audience. Believe me, I really, really do. But what I like more is knowing that every single person in here is contributing and making this church thrive. And the vision allows us to do exactly that. But I need your support, and I need you all to do your part. So what this means is that when we run Mission Lab, March, April, May, it is one Saturday out of those months for 4 hours. You can do that. It's important because you need to be able to talk to other people about your faith and about this church without making them think you're crazy, like without scaring them off. We need to learn how to do that. We need to go and get into these small groups because you got to nurture your own individual spirituality. This is not enough. It means getting involved in the mission of our church, helping to bring that to life. And it means caring for other people, the people within these walls, the people beyond these walls, those who are in need of help and a listening ear. Because if you're going to apply that label to yourself, if you're going to say, I'm a Christian, then you cannot simply sit in a pew. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you have been hearing this stuff for weeks now, and I know that you're thinking to yourself, Alex, I do not have time for this. I don't have time to barely think to myself. I have a stressful job. I have to go out and barely have time for my family. And you want me to join into small groups and you want me to get involved in the mission. I mean, it sounds great, but the truth is, I'm packed to the hilt. I'm doing all kinds of activities. I got things I got to do. I do not have time to really add one more thing in. Now, I'm sure if I was sitting where you're sitting and I heard some guy talking to me about this, that's exactly what I would be thinking. But let me explain to you why that's not true. Because most of the time when people ask you to do things, those things are life-taking. I call them soul-sucking. That's what they do. These things that I'm asking you to do, follow me on this. This is really important. The things that we're asking you to do here are life-giving. They're actually going to make your life better. If you are willing to really invest in this vision, then I guarantee it, that your life is going to see some amazing things happen. Not only are you going to develop a stronger connection with God and with other people, but you're going to do a lot of good for a lot of people. I mean, how often do we go through our lives feeling as though our lives don't matter? I mean, we're on this constant treadmill, right, of work and family. If you're in school, it's, school and family. We're on this constant treadmill, and it feels like it's not going anywhere positive. I know that in my own life, I often feel so disconnected from the people around me because of everything that life throws at me. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Okay, that's how I feel most of the time. And that's why I'm excited for this, because I need this stuff as much as you do. I need to be involved in these activities because I know they're going to rejuvenate my spirit and give me a sense of wholeness and peace that I lack in my normal day-to-day life. So, the cool thing about this, though, is that if you're willing to do something for you, now most of us, we're okay at helping other people, we're horrible at helping ourselves. And so I need you to take the first big step and say, I'm going to do something for me that is important. And to explain to you how this works, I want to talk to you about our scripture lesson real quick today. We talked about this guy Solomon. Some of you may have heard of him before. If you haven't, don't worry. He was the second king of Israel. And when he becomes this king, he's just this little kid, and there's no way this guy's going to be able to rule over this massive kingdom. And so God comes to him and he's like, hey, what can I give you? It's kind of like, you ever seen Aladdin? Seen that movie Aladdin? It's kind of like when you get the genie in the bottle, all that stuff, right? That's exactly what's happening here. So he could have asked for anything he wanted. Riches, long life, death of his enemies is what it says in there. But instead, he asked for understanding of the mind so that he can rule his people, and he asks for God to give him the ability to discern between good and evil. Meaning what? He's asking for wisdom. That's what he wants, right? Wisdom. Now he needs that wisdom so that he can rule the people effectively. Now think about that for a second. Follow me. This is the key. He asks for something for himself, and that something for himself allows him to help other people, right? Allows him to be a better ruler. The same thing applies to you and to me. We need something from God if we're really going to be able to serve people better. And let me just lay out for you how it works with this vision. Because if you understand the keys, the links, you're going to understand how it all fits together. So, you begin, let's say you're willing to do it. You're saying, okay, Alex, I'll give you my 1 hour a week or 1 hour a month for the small groups. I'll give that to you. I'm willing to give you that much time. If you invest in those small groups, then you're going to be nurturing your own individual spirituality, and you're going to be developing a deeper connection with God. That deeper connection with God, follow me, next step in the process is what? Once you have that deeper connection, then that's going to motivate you to actually want to help the least and the lost in this community. So that's step 2 in the process. When you start helping the least and the lost, well, that's going to give you that sense of purpose and meaning that's been lacking in your life, because you all know it's lacking. I do too. And once you have that sense of purpose and meaning, well, there's this ripple effect. Because in all the ways that you're showing that love to other people beyond this church, you're going to start showing that love to your friends, your family, your neighbors, your community, and they're going to feel that caring. Do you understand how you start with something for you, and it ends up helping all these other people as a result? And all that comes about as a result of this vision. But I need your help as the dream managers of this congregation to bring this vision to life. I need your hours. I need you to invest your heart. And I need you to invest financially. If we're going to bring this vision to life, if we're going to make it a reality, if we're going to function as a church that really serves God in the right way, it requires money. In fact, it requires $1.3 million per year. Now, let me talk about that $1.3 million. $1.3 million is not a lot of frills and excitement for myself and the staff. Adam can't go out and play laser tag every day because you've given $1.3 million. $1.3 million, what it does is it allows us to run the programs that we run here, It allows us to keep the lights on and the sanctuary relatively comfortable, and it pays for our salaries. Now, I know for many of you, these days where we come and we ask for money, they feel a little bit awkward. I remember when I was sitting where you're sitting and I was hearing some guy talk about money, I was like, I knew I should have slept in this morning. I didn't want to be here for the money talk. There's other things I could be doing with my time. I get that. I really do. But these mornings where we talk about this is important because you have to understand the reality of what it takes to make this place thrive. So let me give you that number one more time. $1.3 million. Now, if you have $1.3 million, you need to come speak to me because we have some things to talk about. But I assume that none of you really have that much money. So let's talk about this. What does this require of you? Well, if you look at our congregation, the people who actually come here on a Sunday morning, you all, plus the people who listen on the web, and those who have money. Now that means you're not a youth, because youth, you're generally in school and you don't have an income. You can still give, but I just know you don't have an income. We're looking at about 875 people. Now, if you divide that into 1.3 million, you're looking at about $1,500 per person. So if every person gives $1,500, we're at 1.3 million. That means if you're a couple and you represent 2 members, you would need to give around $3,000. Now, just so you don't think I'm asking you to do something that I don't do myself, I give a lot more than $3,000 back to this church in my own personal tithing. I would never ask you to do something that I don't personally do myself. Now, I know for some of you, $1,500, that's a lot of money. But can I break it down on a week-to-week basis, what we're talking about? $1,500, if you do it week by week, is $29 a week. $28.84 if you want to get specific. $29 a week is what it takes. Now, I know a lot of you spend $29 a week at coffee at Starbucks. I know that. I know it's not too far out of the realm of possibility for you to be able to do something like this. But the difference between Starbucks and the church, Starbucks you get a lot of calories and a caffeine high, which is good. It is good. But here, you're going to find spiritual fulfillment, and you're going to do a lot of good for a lot of people. Now, if you're used to giving more than $1,500 a year, please continue to give more than $1,500. Please do not stop. But I need everybody to be on the same page that if you can reach that level, if you can do that, that's really where we need to be to kind of make this place thrive. So I want to end this morning and ask you all to pray about what you plan to give to the church. That's not something I'm used to doing, praying before I give. Usually what I do is I take a look at my budget and I say, okay, this is how much money I have to give to you. But I don't want it to be as robotic as that. For a long time I've given to the church, but I've done so with absolutely no joy in my heart. In fact, I'll be honest with you, often when I would give to the church, I felt like it was a burden. But you know what? As I've gotten older, I've come to realize that when you give your money away, it should feel good. It should actually feel like you're doing something positive for yourself and for other people. I mean, you all work very hard to earn your money. And if you're going to part with it, particularly at a church, you should feel like it's going towards something that really honors God. So, next week, it's Commitment Sunday. There's actually cards in the pews. If you haven't gotten one already, you can see it. Next week, you're going to write down that number of what you plan to give the church in the coming year. And as you contemplate and reflect on what you plan to give, I hope that you will reflect on what we're trying to do here. I want you to reflect on how your hard-earned dollars are going to support something that is vitally important for yourself and for other people. But most importantly, I want you to remember that you are a dream manager of this congregation. You are going to be contributing something that is going to help make people's dreams come true. And I want to thank you for doing your part, and I want to thank you for bringing those dreams to life. Amen.